Hello, everybody. Excellent. All right, now I'm starting to see. Zoom took a second. I was really afraid it's going to be just Jason, Stephanie, and I just kind of hanging out here for a little bit. But welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of the Virtuous Insider. This is the first time we've had the Insider on the same day as a release, so it really feels timely to talk about additions to the product and things like that. So thanks for joining us for our latest Product Pulse session. Product Pulse session, it's tough to say, talking about what's going on in the product today and what's coming up for the product in the future. We've got a little peek into the future for you guys, which is pretty exciting. Before we jump in, I do want to just lay down a little bit of housekeeping. As usual, we are recording today's session, so it will be available in the support center after the webinar. Everybody is muted, all the attendees, that way we can get some good audio here. Okay, but if you do have a question, and certainly we do love questions, you can go ahead and submit those through the Q&A box. The chat is always active. Stephanie from our training team is in the chat. She's always active in there, which is great. But sometimes things go by so quickly, it would be great to use the Q&A feature. That way we don't miss any of those questions. We can make sure that we can address them when we get a little bit further in here. Okay, but thank you guys for joining us. So this week you've got me. I'm Scott Richards, the Director of Training here at Virtuous, and I'm joined by Jason VanLue, our Director of Product. How you doing, Jason?
Fantastic. Happy, is it Thursday? It's this whole week has been kind of weird.
It is, between the holiday and updates, pushing out new release features in the middle of the week. I have no idea what's happening. So it's great.
Happy day. We'll just call it that.
There you go. It ends in Y. So what we wanted to chat about today, not go backwards, come on now, catch up with us here, slides, for our agenda, a little rundown. We did want to talk about some of those new features that came out just today. So like I said, this is hot stuff. Looking at the ability to schedule reports and have those emailed to you, to somebody else on the team. For those of you using Virtuous Forms, the ability to create membership forms, be able to embed those on your site, and the ability to customize some of your views, right? This is kind of a theme we've been having going for a little bit now, over a couple of releases, to really help you use Virtuous the way that you want and see Virtuous the way that you want. So we'll look at that. And then Jason is going to peer deep into the future and take a little bit of a peek at the Virtuous roadmap. And so we'll talk about what's coming up there. And then, of course, if you have questions, we're happy to answer those. We want to make sure we have time to get to those too. So without any further ado, there's always a do around here. Whoops, let's not go right to questions. Let's take a look at the product, shall we? Some of those awesome features. So one of the first ones I mentioned is something that's been a popular request. I know we've had a lot of folks who have asked for the ability to schedule reports to run at a particular time, and even have those emailed to folks who might not be logging into Virtuous regularly. So now you have the ability to do that. Now, I know there's a couple different places in Virtuous where you can generate reports. Here we're talking about some of the custom reports, right? There's some standard reports built into the dashboard, but right now we're going to go into here and we're going to go to the reports page. This is where you can build any custom reports that you like. Right, you can start with a query, and then you can add some filtering and a chart to it to get a little bit more out of that report, to visualize or analyze that data a little bit more. You could also just come right in and build a report and build a filter for the data that you want right on the fly and create that report. Now, once you've built a report that you do like or that you want to use, then you'll be able to come in here and create a scheduled report. Okay, so first the report still has to be built. It's got to exist. Then you can choose how you want to deliver that, how often and to whom. Okay, so you can come in here and select any one of your reports. Maybe it's this average giving by contact type. You can choose when you want to start. We're assuming you're going to start today, right? But if I wanted this to start tomorrow, I could select that. I can select the time of day. So maybe I want to set something up to come to folks every day, and I want it to happen at 9 a.m., right? Kick off the day with a report. That's great. For my frequency, I can select daily, and then I can come in and choose who's going to get that report. Okay, and it can go to me, it can go to any user in the system. I can choose as many users as I would like. Now, someone does have to be a user in Virtuous, so I can't send data outside of my organization. And really, that's just a precaution to make sure that you aren't accidentally sharing data externally with someone who shouldn't have access to it. One of the other reasons why we need someone to be a user is because we're going to look at their permissions when we send a report and make sure that they will only receive data that they are allowed to see given their specific user permissions. So if I wanted to schedule this report and it's going to go out to a few users who are restricted, they only have access to certain gifts, they may use and restrict by project, or they only have access to certain contacts because they have an organization group, they will only see those gifts and contacts that they are allowed to see, which is pretty cool, right? So I'll get a slightly different view than some of the other recipients, even though we're all viewing the same report. So it's kind of neat. But that's the schedule report feature. So again, go in, check that out. I can't stress enough. I'm excited just because I feel like we've had folks who've asked for it for so long and it's finally here. So definitely go in and check that out. Now, the other feature that came out today that is sort of a continuation of something we've been building to over the last couple of releases. We've had a few new membership features that we've released. And now we've got some new forms, including a new membership form. And as part of this, the forms page itself got a little bit of a polish, a little bit of a glow up here. So it looks a little nicer than it did before. And some of that is because now we've got types for giving forms because we've got more than one type of giving form, right? Because a membership form is really a giving form. Someone's going to process a payment to sign up for a membership. So we can call this one webinar membership. There we go. I can still assign a default project or a default segment code to anything processing through the form, same as I could with any giving form. But the big difference here is this is going to have the membership type, right? And that's baked into the form. I can't remove it. Why would I? It's a membership form. Okay, but I can come in here and edit this, and I can use all of the membership types that I have for my organization, or I could come in and pick and choose specific memberships that I would like to offer via this form, right? Whatever it is. So maybe I've got my balcony membership and I've got my mezzanine. So I'm definitely a theater organization here, right? I've got the orchestra. There we go. And of those, I can even choose a default selection. So I can say, hey, we're going to default to the middle of the pack here. We're going to default to mezzanine. And then I can choose the label, add help text, same as I can with any form field. And if we go ahead and preview that, then you'll see it looks, a lot like our sort of very standard or basic giving form. But up here, I can choose a membership, and it's again defaulting me to the mezzanine membership right out of the box. Right, so pretty cool. And that'll, of course, send all that data over to Virtuous. And in the import tool, you'll see that someone has signed up for a membership. And as part of this, we've also added the ability for you to even manually add a new membership to a contact as part of the gift import process, right? That was necessary to be able to do this. So, hey, bonus functionality right there. Now, the other thing I wanted to highlight just quickly here is, again, some of the new sort of customizations, right? Again, in a couple past releases, we've done some new things to make data entry and maintenance a little bit quicker and easier, make it easier to edit records and to view records. And now you'll see on the contacts page, you'll see the same thing on the gifts page. There's a little gear icon, and that'll let you select some additional fields. So if I'd like to see marital status, financial score, social score, and let's say life to date plus pass through giving and gift count always, I can do that. And once I've selected those fields, those will be in my view, right? That's just baked in now to what I see. And then if I want to make some changes, I can come in here and say, you know what, I changed my mind. I don't need the scoring. And I would like to reorder these fields here because I want to see the gift count and the giving before I get to marital status and I can apply those changes. So now here's my new view. And if I leave this page, I go to do something else in Virtuous, I've got some other stuff to work on. Once I come back to that contacts view, that's got my view saved. Now that's just personally for me. I'm not affecting any other users, right? So now everybody can have a little bit of a different format in terms of how they see and interact with some of their data. And as we're talking through all of this, you guys will see Stephanie is throwing some articles up in the chat that'll walk you through all of these in more detail. So go ahead and check those out when you get a chance. Okay. Now, that's all I wanted to look at. Of course, there's a lot of features in the release, so do check those out. But I want to make sure we have some time for Jason to give us a little bit of, again, a peek into the future here, talking about the Virtuous roadmap.
Awesome. Happy to do that. Software is a very interesting animal. If you think about building and engineering any other product, if you were a physical engineer building a building, you have a building and it gets constructed and then it's kind of there. Software is a little bit like, you ever see those like large homes that a truck's pulling down the highway and it's got, other trucks around it because it's like a super wide load. That's kind of how software is. You're trying to like build the house as it's going 65 down I-95. So it is a very iterative process. And there are a couple of things that I'll say is first and foremost, we really value feedback, ideas, requests, opinions from all of our customers. We obviously have a lot of things that we would like to improve about the product, and we're trying to keep as tight of a pulse on the market as we can. But even some of the things that you just demoed, Scott, came directly from customers. In fact, this column reordering piece, and then even some of the inline edits that you can do on the contact record if you wanted to update phone numbers or update email addresses. Those are some I think pretty big UX enhancements that came directly from customers saying, you know what, it just is a pain to have to go to the contact record and click on this, then click on this, then click on this. Can we make that better? So just as kind of a blanket statement, we love your feedback and we listen to all of it. A lot of it comes directly to me. I place a very high value on that. And so part of that is our roadmaps. When we talk about, anything product related, software related, we do have this roadmap, which is kind of like a blueprint, to kind of go back to my analogy a little bit, sort of a blueprint for where we're going. Now, it's a blueprint in the sense of it helps us to do a couple of things. It helps us to kind of centralize ideas. We have a lot of ideas that come in either internally, externally, a lot of stuff floating around in my mind, probably floating around in Scott's mind. And so this partly kind of a centralized place where we can keep a lot of these ideas. But then we also want there to be this ability to actually centralize feedback and upvotes both from our team and from our customers. So what you're looking at here is the quote unquote public Virtuous roadmap. Now that's quote unquote because as Virtuous insiders, you guys are getting kind of the first peek at this. We have an internal roadmap that we use. Looks a lot like this. This particular roadmap here will be released in the next couple of weeks. We're just making a few final tweaks to actually getting it behind the Virtuous paywall so you can access it from the app. But you'll have the ability to come here, check out the roadmap at any point in time. You'll be able to click on any one of these ideas, feature cards. You'll be able to add comments to it. You'll be able to upvote it. If you're like, yes, this is something that I've been asking for the past 4 years, please do it right now. Please, please, please. You can totally do that. And the way that we've broken this down is we have kind of 4 main timeline sort of bucket ways to show where an idea is in the process. So what you're looking at here is the under consideration bucket. And so these are the things that out of all of the ideas that come in and we get, dozens that come in every week that we kind of filter through. These are the ones that we've identified as, these are probably things that we're going to start working on pretty soon. These are top of mind for us. These are top of mind to our customers. Just like that, huge house rolling down the highway. Unfortunately, we can't work on everything all at once, but we do try and triage a lot of these and think about, all right, well, we need to look at the tires. We need to focus on the things that are going to be absolutely essential. So this is the under consideration side of things. You can see like we're exploring enhancements to our SMS product. We're even doing small things like adding checkboxes to custom field types. So there's large features, there's small features, there's everything in between. And then if we look at our committed area, these are the things that as we sit down about every 6 to 8 weeks or so and sort of look at the next dev cycle, these are the things that we've actually moved into the committed column saying, we're going to work on this either now or in the next 1 to 2 development cycles. And just as kind of a reminder, we do release every month. Scott mentioned earlier, we had a release today. And so, we do have monthly cycles, but really every 2 months, we're kind of coming back to the table here, reevaluating what some of these larger initiatives are going to look like. So you can see Tributes is going to be a pretty big enhancement to the product that we're working on. We also have like some improvements to how you can quickly add and edit notes. So that's a smaller kind of thing. So again, large features, small features, they all live in the same pot and are very happy all together. And then in progress shows you the things that we are actually working on today. Now you only see 4 things. We're working on a lot more than 4 things, I promise you. But that's because we've actually put a lot in our released area. So if you go to released, this isn't even everything that we've released. But these are a lot of the things that we've released in the past 1 to 2 releases. And so this is meant to be a pretty up-to-date, accurate representation of what's going on in the Virtuous product world. And again, I'm really excited because for a while now, this has sort of been behind the curtain. But in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be opening this up Virtuous customer wide. And so I'm excited to even open the floodgates further to more feedback. So that's just a quick glimpse into how we manage and kind of centralize feature requests, product ideas. And again, just to reiterate, they're super valuable. We love hearing from customers because oftentimes, you guys are on the front lines using the application. And so we want to hear from you. So that's the roadmap. Lots of cool things. Happy to answer any questions about specific things you may have seen. We can go back to look at some of the things that we're considering. We can do a deep dive into specific areas if that would be helpful. But ultimately, we are continuously improving, hopefully not crashing the truck as it moves down the road, so to speak.
Well, and it's funny too, because Jason, I know this is something, and those of you who have been Virtuous clients for a while know, this is something that I know folks have asked for a while, is to open up more visibility into what's happening. I think, not to perk my own pot, I think we do a decent job of letting people know what we've built, but not always letting folks know, hey, what's coming? What's on the horizon? What are the things we're thinking about? And even how are we prioritizing those things and what we're going to build? So I think this is kind of exciting to have this out here so folks can kind of sort through all of these. And like you said, you can expand some of these little cards. So even the ability to submit things through here, which is pretty cool. And this is great. As soon as you stopped talking, we saw questions coming in about things that are happening in the product, which is excellent. So I'm happy to jump into questions because I want to make sure we have some time. I know that these insider sessions go so fast.
Yeah, they really do.
Yeah, they do. It's like 30 minutes and we could easily do an hour and 30 minutes. We did our training webinar and that was an hour, and even that seemed to go fast. It was crazy, but we can jump into a few of these. And I know Stephanie's been answering some of these too that are coming in, which is fantastic. Thank you, Stephanie. She really keeps this lively. But there was a question coming in about plans for updating the mobile app. Mm-hmm. Jason, is that something, do you want to chat a little bit about what's going on with the Virtuous mobile app?
Yeah, so there is actually one card. Let me see if I can, actually. Yeah, I think it was. Actually, I think it's under committed. If you just click over to committed real quick.
Even we can't find everything. So
I know, exactly. Yep, add Microsoft Sso to mobile app. That is one of actually many things on the list for mobile app updates. In fact, we talked about this earlier this week. We have regular meetings, weekly meetings with the development team where we kind of plan, what we're going to be working on. And so there is a list of probably, a handful, 4, 5, 6 items that will be kind of on the update block for the mobile app. I don't necessarily have a specific timeline for that, but certainly over the next, call it quarter to certainly 2 quarters, I think we'll be seeing a lot of updates on the mobile app side. So that's exciting. Definitely one of those things that we want to keep adding enhancements to.
Yeah, I mean, it's so handy for gift officers and folks who are going out and meeting with donors. And for the last year plus, there hasn't been a lot of that. So we were able to focus more on the desktop application. We were able to put a lot more effort there. But as the world is starting to open up and people are starting to leave the office again, now is the time to really start looking at what we can do to let them take Virtuous along with them in their pocket. So we have another question here, and this is another timing sort of question on the tribute functionality. And timing is always kind of a tricky thing. I wish we could tell everybody exactly what date something's going to be live in the application. But Jason, did you want to talk a little bit about timing in general and specifically for some of the tribute?
Yes, absolutely. So short answer to that question, and then I'll add a little bit of color, is we are looking at tributes by the end of the year. I would like to say it would be sometime in Q3, and there's a very good chance that will happen. It's sort of like, if you ever watched the old Schoolhouse Rock, how a bill becomes a law. It's like, how does a feature become part of the product? And so, just like everything else in life, we have a scarcity of resources. We only have, a certain amount of bodies we can throw at some of these things. And because we have so many aspects of the application that we're working on, it really just does come down to a resource question. But in fact, Scott and I were chatting about tributes earlier today, like no joke, specifically talking about tributes.
Yes, we were.
It is top of mind. I would like to say Q3, but certainly by the end of the year is something that we're shooting for.
Excellent. And you get points for the Schoolhouse Rock reference. You've been hanging out with the training team too much. We had music theater references and Backstreet Boys mentioned in the release notes this morning. We have an entire support article that references Joseph Gordon-Levitt movies. So that's in our wheelhouse.
That's right all there. My jam.
And I saw a question fly by in the chat, I think. And that was the question about event management. Will there be features? Does it make it kind of similar to Eventbrite? So less about timing and more about kind of the extent of, what do we mean when we're talking about, beefing up event management?
Yeah. So events, I'm really excited about events. We only have a few minutes, so I'll try to keep it brief because we could talk about a lot of things. Maybe that'll be next month's Product Insider. That
would be cool.
We'll see how that goes. We are building events as really kind of the first big flagship joint effort between Virtuous and Raise Donors. So events will be part of the Raise Donors ecosystem. However, because Raise Donors is a part of Virtuous, there is going to be a lot of carryover specifically with how Virtuous and Raise Donors are integrated when it comes to event data, things like that. So Eventbrite is a very, very large software product. And so I will not say that we are going to be replicating every single feature that exists in Eventbrite. However, because Eventbrite serves, any and every organization's events, it does have a lot of features that aren't necessarily necessary for nonprofits. So we really are trying to shape this to serve the nonprofit world. So focusing on events like galas, focusing on events like, concerts, golf tournaments, things like that, that you and your organization are probably going to be putting on. And we're really trying to focus on a user experience that makes it both easy to kind of manage from the administrative side, but also a really great donation and actually registration experience across the board for your donors. And so, no, we won't necessarily be making our event system more powerful than Eventbrite because that's a tall order. However, I do think it's going to be more applicable. I think it's going to be more tailored specifically to the organizations that we serve, in the nonprofit space. So that is, again, something that we're continuing to work on. In fact, after this call, I'm going back over to that for the rest of the afternoon. Seriously, like, we're just not making this stuff up. We talked about tributes. I'm working on events later. That's pretty cool. So we are definitely excited about that. And I think it'll be a really great example of how Raise Donors and Virtuous are kind of continuing to merge together as teams moving forward.
And the big thing there too is, the ability to do, like you mentioned, golf tournaments and galas, and the thing that kind of unites those in a lot of ways is ticketing, right? Ticketing events, paid events, where right now you have the ability in Virtuous to create an event form and have someone sign up to say, I'm coming to the event, or you have the ability to have a giving form, but I can't do both those things. They're two very separate actions. And so, very simply being able to bring those together and say someone can say they're coming to an event and pay you money to come to that event. That seems like a simple thing, but there's a lot that goes on just to make that a possibility. So that's a big piece of what we're working on too. I saw we had a question come in here real quickly, asking about peer-to-peer functionality. I'll say right now for peer-to-peer functionality, we've got a lot of ability to track peer-to-peer giving in Virtuous, right? You've got the ability to link a contact to a segment so that I can track what someone has raised. But really among some of our partners, right, Classy is one that has a really great peer-to-peer system, and they would probably be the first person that I would, or the first option I would think of to do some more robust peer-to-peer fundraising. And then of course all the tracking is already there in Virtuous as well. Okay, I know that we are close to our time. We've got some other questions coming in, and we might just have to do that, Jason. We might have to spend some more time chatting about events in the next Insider session. Thank you for taking time out of building events to come chat about the other stuff that we are building here. And before we let everybody run away and disappear, I do want to just throw in a little ad. Make sure you come and join us next week at the same bat time, same bat channel. We are going to be talking about our client spotlight. We want to feature some of your success stories. If you do want to share your story, you can reach out to us. And at any point, if you have feedback about what you're seeing in these Insider sessions, if there's something you'd like to do, something you think we should do more of, please do send us an email. You can email the training team. It's just training@virtuous.org, and let us know what you think. And as always, I do like to go ahead and leave you with some ideas from folks who are smarter than me. This, in this case, coming from the founder of, you say automatic, and that doesn't really mean a lot to everybody, but that's WordPress is really what it means. Matt Mullenweg. Technology is best when it brings people together. I think that a lot of times we get really focused on the technology that we're building and how can we do this, but really that's what we're doing this for. We're bringing people together so that they can help us or help you fulfill your missions. That's really what we're after. All right. Thanks so much, Jason. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Stephanie, for keeping the chat hopping. It is a skill I do not have. It's a good thing that Stephanie is here. She keeps that going. Always fun. And we will talk to all of you next week. Bye, everybody.